Yeah, that's kind of had a feeling that was the end. Interesting. Let's go. Doom Eternal Postmortem. I think this game is good, but not great. I think Doom 2016 shined a little bit more with the mystery and the weird storytelling that just didn't make sense at first, and then it went in another. I don't know. It was really cool, and almost all of the story, which I have not read, is buried in these little logs. But the tidbits that I've gathered from just playing the game, kind of a cool idea, but I don't know if it fully executed. So it's a good game, but it's not a great game. Doom 2016, that was a great game. Holy, that was a great game. So good. I mean, the final boss fight was nuts. Oh my god. I think there was more longevity, more replayability in Doom 2016. I've only played it the once, but that's because I don't have a lot of time or whatever. But it was a more fun game. This game has some serious flaws with the boss battles. For one, they don't feel too hard. They just don't feel consistent. Like you can kind of predict what might happen. It feels very kind of loose, and like you can't really get a handle on it. It's more what I mean there. It doesn't feel as tight as it could. So that the boss battles, that's one of my big pet peeves with the game. There aren't that many. There's only 13 levels in the game. Speaking of which, the levels are maybe too long. In the first, what, 6 or 7 or so, they take forever. I mean, you're figuring out the game. You're dying over and over and kind of resetting and learning here and there what works, what doesn't work. To be honest, I felt like 75% of the game I'm using the shotgun and like maybe 2 or 3 other guns. Like I'm using those. I'm never using any of the other ones because it didn't make sense to use those. Mechanically, the game has some really solid stuff, for sure. But the platforming is not quite what I wanted. It's cool when you've got a room where it all works. All the glory kills are working, and you're popping a dude's head off, and it explodes, and maybe it's one of those shield guys, and then explodes another guy. That's some cool stuff. But some of these rooms, I mean, damn, I just feel like they're too small in some respects, and in others it just doesn't quite feel right. Because early on in the game, there's a level where you have 3 spiders that appear. I think it's the 2nd level of the game, and at that point you maybe have seen 1 or 2 of them total, and you get 3 of them in one room. And at one point I think there's 2 on the screen at the same time. It is insane. I mean, there's revenants, and then there's oh, it's just nuts. It's nuts. So mechanically the game kind of suffers a little bit from too much going on at once with the grenades, the 2 different grenades, by the way. Then the flame thing to get your armor. I think they actually work out really well. I ended up almost exclusively using the ice grenade because I almost always needed health. And I only got that because there's so many systems within it where you can upgrade all your guns, your suit. I think all that's cool. made it very much like oh well, I really got to think about what I would want to go into this. And some of them are definitely overpowered and kind of break parts of the game, but I'm completely fine with that. Shooting infinite rockets out of that big old machine gun, I'll take that all day, any day. The implementation of some of the different weapons, like the big ass sword, oh, I think it was real cool. Real cool. Executions are flawless. The effects that you get from just either just killing an enemy, exploding an enemy, whatever it is, in any facet when you're doing destruction with Doom God, it is just awesome. The soundtrack, quite good. Quite good. Can't wait for it to actually come out so we can buy it right away and then listen to that as I've listened to Doom 2016 soundtrack on repeat for the last couple of years. So yeah, top to bottom, it's a good game, but it suffers from enemy placements, not necessarily enemy designs. I think the game is just brutal enough that you can push through. The implementation of some of the armor for the boss fights, I think for some people might be necessary. For me it wasn't too, because I just don't have the time to sit here and bash my face against something, especially when on the level 12 boss, the Maker boss, when you fight her and get her down to no health twice, is like 1 or 2 hits away, it's just demoralizing. And that's what this game can do. It makes you feel badass, and it can demoralize you in the next instant. And whether it's a boss fight or it's a room that takes you 45 minutes or an hour to do, I think in some respects that's not fun. And I think there were many times during this, especially those boss fights, where I was not having fun. Through most of the levels, I was having a pretty alright time. Just dooming it along. It was great. I liked the very few audio logs, by the way. I think if they would have delivered more of the story through that, it might have been more interesting. Maybe not so many cutscenes, because I think they had the right amount. But maybe a little more audio log, like Bioshock driven or something like that, might have been more effective. Again, I haven't read any of these logs. I'll probably read them here now that we've completed it. But Doom Eternal sits in a weird spot for me because I don't think I'll play it again. I don't know how I feel about there being downloadable content. I'm just not sure what that is. Especially, I think it's single player downloadable content too, which is confusing. I am interested in the multiplayer. I think that'd be cool. Kind of just mess around on that, see what you can do. It's a shame it wasn't ready for launch, but these things happen. What can you do? So overall, Doom Eternal, well, it's not Doom 2016. It is a frustrating game with platforming and awesome guns and effects and graphics and music. But it feels like it ultimately could have been more fun, could have been a better overall experience. Maybe if there was just a tad more on the QA side. Because I've heard at the higher difficulties, it just is so unforgiving, it's not even possible in some respect. It just doesn't feel like it. And for me and my old hands and just limited time, all we could bear was ultra violence, and I had to use the silly armor there on the last 2 fights because it just doesn't make any sense. Like at a certain point, you're fighting a boss for quite a while, and it's so tense, you just can't do it. So that's my postmortem for Doom Eternal. Be gentle in those comments, if you will. Whew. Man. I was really pumped about this game this year, and it delivered on most fronts, but it's leaving me a little bit wanting. I didn't expect that. Thanks for watching all of the streams for this, and this portion right here. I appreciate all the support greatly. We'll let the credits roll out. See what comes of this here. I wish I was better at this game. Definitely a bad doomer. Okay, this is pretty great. Pretty great. Yeah. All right. It's a little bit better than I let on.